First off, I think we got a great culture. I think it's really unique. Every job I've ever taken has been with a new head coach. Like I came in on ground zero, and I'm coming in with a new head coach, but it doesn't really feel like ground zero. So that's kind of neat. The culture is pretty stinking good already, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, we got a lot of new guys who need to learn what our standard is. But I really like the look in their eye. They're hungry. They play with energy. There's highs and lows right now, which is to be expected, and we got to develop some more consistency in all aspects, not just effort, but execution and all those things. But overall, I'm pretty pleased to be coming in, installing this defense with the culture that's already here.
What's your number one priority coming in? What's the first thing you want to get?
I want to make sure the standard's upheld in terms of how we prepare and how we practice. And then from my standpoint, just trying to evaluate what our guys are good at and, make sure that I am spearheading our defense to what that looks like. It goes back to Coach Harrell talks about it's about the players, right? Okay, as a coordinator, I think that's important too. Defense is a little different than offense, where I think on defense you need to be able to massage based on your personnel, whether you're more of a three-man front team or a four-man front team or a two-high or a one-high, whatever it may be. And we've got to be good enough coaches to where if our guys are really good at doing that, then we need to have enough answers to put them in the best situation and not just say this is what we do. So we're trying to put a lot on them and evaluate what they can handle, but also evaluate what they're good at.
A lot of defensive linemen working out pro day with 3-4 year starters here.
Mm-hmm.
How was that group? I know it's early in spring, but just like the development of that group, how important will that be for coaches?
I think it's really neat. When you look at guys like a Preston Carr, or like a Zion Wilson, a guy that's an older guy that hadn't played a ton but knows how to play the game, and those guys have been really good bridges to the new players. Those guys have kind of been role players in the past and not played a ton, but they've had really good 4 days, in my opinion. And so that's really been a great thing to see because, D-line's what I've actually coached more than any position. And, if you don't got them, you're in trouble. And it starts and ends up front. So really pleased with the development of that group in only 4 days. And then, new guys just really buying into what we want to do.
Through your coaching journey, who are some coaches you looked up to and kind of model your coaching style around?
So I worked for Scott Simons for 7 years, D coordinator at SMU. I consider him one of my best friends. He had a huge impact on me. And then I'd say Ron Roberts and DJ Durkin. I've been blessed to coach under some of the best D coordinators in the country. So just seeing, the one thing in common with all of them is they're all really intense and organized. But then they all bring different things to the table that I've tried to take from all of them. And, we're all a product of our experiences, and I'm definitely a product of mine.
Sam Danko's kind of a Carmen unicorn.
Yeah.
6', 230. Just how do you see him fitting in? I know he's played some inside linebacker this spring.
I think earlier, like when I said about seeing what our players do best, I think of Sam probably first. You look out there, and last year I know they had Sam and Raheem playing the same position, and Jackson, and those 3 of our better players on defense, and just seeing how we can get them on the field at the same time and what that looks like, right? Okay. But Sam has had a good 4 days. It's obviously some newness for him, but he's the type that prepares the right way, and he's a great young man, and he's got a bright future at whatever position he plays.
So Tegan Wilt went to Houston for a year. He's back after a few seasons here in East Carolina.
Yep.
Are you still seeing a huge leadership role for him?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's same song, second verse for him. Even if there's some verbiage that's different, he's just played so much football. That there's something to be said for that. When a guy can take what he's learned somewhere else and say, "Oh, I've called it carpet, and you call it chair," and it's the same thing. Just trying to understand those things is a lot easier when you've played a lot of football. And he's made a lot of plays. We track havoc every day. That's TFL, sacks, PBUs, forced fumbles, and hurries. And I think he's led us in havoc 2 out of the 4 practices. So he makes a lot of plays. So.
What do you think about intensity today? Is it something y'all talk about before practice, or something that you talk
Yeah, I mean, in today's day and age, if you tell the players they're live, which you don't get to do a whole lot, they're usually going to be pretty intense. You know, I thought on both sides of the ball, I thought we both started fast and really physical with inside run, and then at times you get a dip, right? Guys get tired or whatever, but I thought we finished really well on both sides of the ball. You can see that they're competing. They're excited to get out there, and they're really chomping at the bit. So there'll be some bumps and bruises. They'll be off tomorrow, and then we'll have a lighter day Thursday, and then we'll similar day on Friday to today.
With it being the first day in pads, how do you continue to instill that excitement within your players throughout the spring season?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, when you don't have pads on, you're still trying to coach how to play the right way. When the pads come on, there's a proof of concept, right? You can show the video and say, I've been telling you this ain't going to work when this happens, you know, and now it doesn't, right? So I think when you practice with pads, it speaks for itself. You either won or you lost, right? Okay, when we tackle live, he either got the first down or he didn't. There's no, well, I would have tackled him there, or I would have got off that block there. It was a quick whistle. So I actually think it's easier to coach when we have full pads on because there's no gray area, right? And it's when you don't have that on where you got to really hold them to the standard and not cut corners.
Early on, has there been a position group that stood out to you?
Ooh. Not really. I mean, every group's had their day. You know, I'd say, like you said earlier, the biggest surprise has probably been the interior D-line. Not because I thought they'd be bad, but it's just a lot of newness there, right? And just they seem to be hitting a good stride. Like I said, with those returners, even though they hadn't played a whole lot, they know how to practice and how to play.
You had to kick Blake out of the inside linebacker room at all yet? Or just...
No. We welcome him in there. You know, he spends a lot of time in the D staff room too, and it's really good for me because, like I said, when you're coaching the kids, maybe we're doing something similar but a little different. You know, I like knowing what they were told before, so you can try to figure out how they grasp it and is there carryover or is this just brand new? You know, so I welcome that, and he's been a great sounding board for me, understanding like what they've done in the past, and just a mentor too. Because he's been a D coordinator for multiple years at different places and done a great job. So there's plenty of situational football I can learn from him and things like that.
You know, DJ Johnson and Jordan Davis, two guys that have been here a while, kind of waiting for their turn. You kind of sense that hunger this spring?
Yeah, I think they're two totally different players. Julian's a guy who's got some rush ability. He honestly is kind of like Sam. You can line him up and let him go in on third down and move him around a little bit because he's such a bigger body, but he still runs really well. And then DJ, is a guy who's really kind of changed his body. He's never going to be the biggest guy, but, just firming up his body and things like that. I think they both had a good 4 days. I thought DJ had a really good day today.
Way less chaotic, and the main reason is, one, just the continuity that we were able to keep from a staff standpoint, but also from just player standpoint. That's what you take for granted probably when you step into a situation like last year. You're having to coach and teach everybody on the field. Nobody knows what you're doing or what you're trying to do, but now every coach knows what we're doing. And now you've got those older guys that, even a guy like Caton, who's not going through it right now, but he's another coach. He's an extension of the coaching staff to where, we got some new guys that are here this semester that he's able to, if they got a question, they don't have to come find one of us. He can come find Caton or Anthony or one of these older guys that have been in it. And so that takes a lot of stress off of me, takes a lot of stress off the coaching staff, to where last year, it felt like I couldn't get enough answers out there fast enough for all the questions. And so that's the biggest difference, just a lot less chaotic just because of just the familiarity from the top down, staff-wise and players.
With Kate now, how is Jake kind of taking this opportunity of getting extra reps?
Yeah, Jake loves it, because even though if you're not the guy, your desire to be the guy doesn't go away. And so, he loves it. And Jake, even when we made the switch last year, and you guys know this, Jake never changed. Jake was still a leader on the team. He was a great teammate, and he's the same guy still. He leads every day. With Caton not being out there, it allows you to lean on Jake and use Jake because he's the one taking the reps and going through it. So he's done a great job. He's steady Eddie like he always is as far as personality and things of that nature. So it's been good. I'm happy for him to get the opportunity this spring for sure.
The rest of that room, getting a couple freshmen in, it seems like Raheem's taking a step too.
No doubt. I couldn't be more proud of Raheem. And, and the only reason that he's there is because he put the work in just like they all did, and he's worked his tail off to get to where he's at. And he'll get an opportunity as the spring goes on to get reps with that ones because he's earned it. And, the more depth we can have, the more people we can have, not only in that room, but every room that we feel comfortable putting in the football game, that's what's best for us.
Do you think anybody stood out today that surprised you, or?
It's hard. The hardest thing when you're not live tackling and in full pads is just kind of what Josh was talking about. Was that a tackler or was it not? And so there's some things that you get to see today, and really in that running back room, when those guys get in one-on-one situations, are they breaking tackles? Are they not? And you got to see guys like London, Parker Jenkins that got in some one-on-one situations and won those matchups, and we need to win more of them. But those were some just guys, just because of the practice today of tackling, you get to see who's really winning in those one-on-one situations.
When you walk in the running back room, it's weird not to see Rajay Harris, but if you keep looking, you'll find London Montgomery and Marlon Gunn. How are those guys looking this spring, and how excited are you for them to take that next step forward?
No, they're excited because they got to sit and watch a guy that worked his tail off and got to reap the rewards of it. And they saw Rajay get better as the year went on, because Rajay was not the same running back that he was, Norfolk State to NC State. He wasn't the same guy, and that's because he stayed with it and trusted the process. And so those guys, that's the thing I like the most, is they got to sit and watch that. Not necessarily the production, but just how he worked and how he prepared. And so they're excited, and that started for them in January. They've worked their tails off in the weight room to prepare to be that guy and to carry the load. And Rajay's load that he took last year is probably more than really what we want from a running back. We'd like to spread it out more. One, it keeps those guys fresh and allows us to use more people.
The transfer receivers y'all brought in, they seem to be making some plays early in the spring. Would you agree with that? How is that coming along?
I would agree. Darrell Roberts is the man for a reason. So, no, it's what we want in every room. It's competitive depth, and I thought we had it last year to an extent. I feel the exact same way, even if not more so this year. In every room, running backs, receivers, tight ends, O-line, we just are a deeper unit this year than we were last year, to where they're really from the front out wide, like there is not a big drop-off, and that's what we want. So that's why those guys were huge. The thing I like about them the most, about those receivers that we added, they're older guys. They're not young transfers. They're guys that have been in big-time programs, that have played football, and they know how to carry themselves. You're not having to teach them how to practice. You're not having to teach them how to, pay attention in a meeting. They know. And so that's the thing that I've enjoyed the most, but also, obviously, when they make plays on the field, that's why they're here.
Let's go to the trenches right quick. How's the offensive line gelling so far this spring?
It's great. And, that's where you've got a good mix of guys that have been here, new guys. You've got guys that were in the program last year that may not have played a ton, but you've got guys that have been here that have a chance to go step into some of those roles. And, again, just like that receiver room, you talk about you got a two deep where there is a lot of interchangeable parts as far as competition goes. And it's been nice because, it keeps those older guys, and I say older guys, but like keeps McCrimmon, Kojo, keeps those guys on their toes, knowing that they've got young guys, they've got new guys that came here to play. And, that's what we never want to do. We don't want to just bring bodies in. We want to bring people in that add value and can play right now. And so I feel great about it. We were really, really fortunate last year. We played with about the same 5 guys almost the entire season. That is, knock on wood, that's a rarity. And so we've got to make sure we've got depth up front. And, 4 practices into it, I feel really good about it. And they've got to continue to get better and better, though.
What's your number one priority coming in the spring ball?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, that's That's a good question. It's an easy question. Last year we led the country in interceptions, and so that's got to get fixed. And it's something that we studied a lot, just as far as why. Was it decision making? Was it play calls? Was it this? And just everybody owning up to it and finding accountability in that. And the most frustrating thing is it was a mixture, but at the same time you don't realize those turnovers, where they happen in the field, took points off the board. And that's the one thing that you can't do is, I can't even tell you how many points cost us just from those turnovers. And so that for us is a huge emphasis, is just taking care of the football, because we've shown and proven that we can be explosive. We have explosive players, but if we'll protect the ball, we can be really good on offense.
Coach McBain was out there for other jobs, maybe your reports at least. Just what was it about ECU that made you want to commit here for another year?
The biggest thing for me is it's rare. It's so rare in our profession and what we do that you get to do exactly what you want to do with the people you want to do it with. And I have that here. I love working for Blake Harrell, first and foremost. I love working at East Carolina, but I love my staff, and I love the guys that are around me. And a lot of them are guys that I've known for, a long time. I've spent every day with Hunter McKay for the last 3 or 4 years, from Ole Miss to here. I've known Matt Maddox since 2014. I've known Ronnie Freeman since 2009 at Abilene Christian, and met Dyrell Roberts about a year and a half ago, and now I would consider him my brother. He's family forever. And so, like I said, you just don't get to do what you want to do and have the freedom that we have on offense that Blake allows us to do, but get to do it with the people. I love coming to work every day because of the people I'm around. And so that's a rarity. I've been fortunate to have that other times in my career in different roles, but that's special. And you don't leave that or walk away for that for nothing. And I cherish that. I love it here. My family loves it here. So this place is special. And the other thing is, I knew with the pieces we have coming back, I know how good we can be. Now, we got a long way to go, and we got to work our tail to get there. But all that combined, this is a special place. And I knew that when I came here, and obviously the last year and a half has just confirmed that.